Hi, it's me Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to the channel, then please subscribe my channel and visit my Patreon page, link in the description. The next few days passed fairly quickly. I guess I was a little apprehensive because time always passes quickly when you hope it won't. Kay received the word on Monday that I would be replacing her on the viewing platform this year, and she didn't speak to me for 2 days, except during the broadcast. I didn't push it and let her work out her anger in her own way. Even after Tuesday, she barely said 10 words to me each day. On Thursday, Lisbeth and I went shopping so I could get a hat with a wide brim for Friday because the weather was predicted to be hot and sunny. Not that we needed an excuse for shopping, because we normally went out 3 or more days every week anyway. After searching through half the mall, I finally found a straw hat that we could agree on. I also picked up a couple of pairs of sunglasses, although I might not be able to wear them during the broadcast. I would have liked to get something lightweight and cool to wear, but I knew that Lisbeth would insist on something tight and sexy, so I didn't even try. All week the station had been running promo spots for the parade broadcast, but I wondered who would watch the broadcast from home when they could watch it live on a bright, beautiful day. Mine was not to question the management of the station, and the broadcast signal in this part of the country could reach out as far as a couple of 100 miles, with satellite and cable carrying it much further. The dawn was just breaking when I arose on Friday morning. I imagined that parade organizers all over the city were getting up and preparing to leave their homes. No doubt some had been up all night making final preparations. I bathed and dressed before going down to breakfast. The other girls weren't up yet, and I didn't feel like cooking, so I peeled an orange to enjoy with a cup for tea. I was extra careful not to spill, drip, or squirt anything on the white blouse and red skirt that I was wearing today. I was wearing a very wide, blue, vinyl belt, studded liberally with rhinestones in an irregular pattern, and had wrapped a red and blue scarf around my new straw hat, so I was all ready with my personal tribute to the red, white, and blue. I was also proudly wearing an American flag pin on my blouse. At 6:45, I grabbed my hat and purse and left the house. I had arranged with Dennis to pick me up and drive directly to the parade assembly area, instead of going out to the station and then driving back across the city. Dennis arrived a few minutes after I reached the end of the driveway. "Very patriotic," he said, looking at my outfit. "Thank you. I even have the 50 stars for my flag," I said, pointing to my belt. "Where are your colors?" "My boxer shorts are red, white, and blue." "Dennis," I said, grinning, "you're impossible." That's what Mother always said to me. "Have you done these parades before?" "Every year." "There's nothing to it. We'll visit a bunch of the larger groups as they're getting ready and get their take on the situation. Ask them about the significance of the holiday to them and if their members are excited about their opportunity to participate in the celebration. You know, the usual crap. You'll do great. People like you and can't wait to tell you about themselves." I smiled. "Thank you, Dennis. And thank you for making me look so good on the interviews that we've done. All I do is point the camera and compose the shot. You do the hard part. I couldn't do what you do." Sooner or later, I'd make a wisecrack and someone would throw a gallon of pig's blood on me, or worse. I giggled. What could be worse? I've seen people physically attack newsmen and newswomen who callously ignored the pain that victims were feeling or made light of a serious situation. Sometimes, in the pursuit of a hot story, news people forget that they're talking to people who are experiencing a very low point in their lives. I hope I never become that harsh. That's up to you. Right now you have a sweet innocence about you. If you decide to make this a career, you'll have to find a way to keep yourself from becoming cynical like me. Just like cops, news people often see the seamier side of life, and it can take its toll on you. You have to remember never to take yourself, or this job, too seriously. With Dennis suggesting which groups we should interview, we completed about 24 in the time before the parade kicked off. We wrapped up our efforts in time to transmit the interviews to the station and get to the reviewing stand before 10 o'clock. Editors at the station would prepare the interviews for broadcast, and they would be interspersed during the parade broadcast. I hadn't met Jerry Buchanan before because he was gone by the time I arrived at the station each day, but I had caught some of his broadcasts. About mid-40s, tall, with rugged good looks, he was standing near the reviewing platform when we arrived. "I'm honored to meet KBXF's rising new star," he said, smiling and extending his hand. I smiled and shook his hand lightly, happy that he didn't crush mine as some men are prone to do. "It's a pleasure to meet you, and even more of a pleasure to have this opportunity to work with you today. I've been a fan of yours since I began working at the station." "Udo," he said, smiling. "I'm being outflattered. And flattery will get you everywhere with me. I'm sure that you encounter fans all the time, but none more lovelier than yourself. I'm afraid that people aren't even going to even notice little ol' me on the stand this year." "Don't be silly. Who do you think all the women will be looking at?" "Certainly not me." "This is going to be a great day," he said. "You are so good for my aging ego." I giggled, but didn't have a chance to respond before one of the assistants from the station approached us and handed us each a sheaf of papers. Looking at the bundle, I realized that they were the data sheets for the groups in the parade. I also noticed that Jerry's packet was only a quarter as thick as mine. He saw me looking at his bundle. I do the groups like the fire departments, National Guard, cops, veterans, Chamber of Commerce, and Rotarians. My female partner always does the bands, schools, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts, for H, beauty queens, garden clubs, sewing clubs, and women's auxiliaries. "That's sexist," I said. "I agree, but you're the first female to mention it. Usually my female partners are only too happy to get the lion's share of the airtime. Why isn't it done like the news stories are handled at the station, with each person alternating? Beats me. Probably because we've never complained. I don't really care. I get enough airtime during the week and I'm not looking to move to a larger market. Kay's ambition wasn't worth fighting. Besides, I get to enjoy the parade more this way." "Okay, Jerry. I won't rock the boat. This is my only parade anyway. Do a good job and they'll draft you for the Columbus Day parade as well." "Not me. I'll be back in school by then." "Which college?" "Not college, high school. I'm just a junior." "High school? Why are you still in high school?" "Never mind. None of my business." "I don't mind. I'm still in high school because I'm only 16. 16? I figured you for about 20. Does Pylora know?" "I don't know. I know that Mr. Graham is aware of my age, and it's in my personnel folder. I'd be willing to bet that Pylora doesn't know. Not with the way he talked about you." "What did he say?" I asked warily. "Well, he called me in to tell me that I wouldn't be doing the parade with Kay this year. At first I thought he meant I wouldn't doing the parade, but then he told me that I'd be working with one of the best new talents to come to the station in years. He said that this was your first live report, but that you were a natural." That was nice of him. I suppose I should tell him that I'll only be around for another 9 weeks. "Why leave? You can continue to work after school starts. You'll have plenty of time to do your schoolwork between broadcasts." "But I'm from Massachusetts. I'm only visiting my cousins for the summer. If you're as good as Pylora says, you can demand $2,000 a week or more and get it easily. If you land a job as an anchor, say when Kay leaves, add a few more thousand. Isn't that worth moving out here? 5,000 a week? Or more?" "More? Salaries are the most poorly held secret at the station. I understand that Kay is getting $260,000 a year. They certainly wouldn't object to replacing her with someone just as talented, who also happens to have a personality." "Just for being a reporter?" "No, for becoming a television news person, station anchor, and local celebrity. I've seen your weather reports. You look as comfortable in front of the camera as most people are when in their own living room talking to a friend. You can't teach that. It has to come naturally. Toss in a strong, clear voice, good people skills, and intelligence, and you're in high demand in our business. Add looks like yours, and you become a station manager's daydream, and every male viewer's wet dream." I had started to fantasize about staying on, but his last remark brought me down hard. I was only a woman temporarily, and I couldn't possibly consider staying on. As a temporary employee, I didn't have full medical insurance, so there hadn't been a problem. But if I became permanent, I would be required to have a complete physical. I couldn't possibly go through with that. My thoughts were interrupted by the sound tech that came to hook us up. I took the mic and stepped into the van for a minute to run it beneath my blouse. When I emerged, Jerry had already taken his seat. The sound tech clipped the transmitter on my belt, connected the mic, and ran the earphone up to my ear. A makeup person touched up my face and hair, and I was ready. I took my seat and prepared for the broadcast. When we were cued by the control room back at the station, Jerry greeted the audience and made the introductions. I simply sat there and smiled, reading along on the teleprompter until it was time for me to speak. The parade had started, but it would be quite a while before it reached our location, so the station ran some of the interviews that Dennis and I had shot as I introduced them. Interspersed with the interviews were shots of the progress of the parade from 2 remote locations. We also broke for a number of commercials, trying to get as many completed as possible before the parade reached us. The parade finally reached our location, and we spoke about each group as they approached and passed us. While Jerry represented the masculine viewers, I represented the feminine watchers. I used a lot of phrases such as "aren't they adorable" when talking about the groups comprised of small children and described the costumes and uniforms of the marchers. Anything that I thought the feminine audience might be interested in passed my lips as my mind raced to keep the presentation fresh. When the last group had passed, the station told us that we had to fill another 8 minutes, so Jerry and I ad-libbed a discussion about the parade and the marchers. The final minutes of the show were dedicated to a discussion of the day's upcoming activities and the annual fireworks display. I was relieved when the control room said that we were off the air. We received a very well done and could relax. "Excellent job, Ashley," Jerry said. "It seemed like you've been doing it for years. I understand now why Pylara is so pleased that you've come to the station. He's going to be plenty upset when he learns that you'll be leaving at the end of the summer. You should really consider moving out here." "Thanks, Jerry, but my mom has a good job with a defense contractor, and I'm sure that she wouldn't want to leave it." "Does she make $260,000 a year?" "No." "Does she make $100,000 a year?" No. Doesn't seem like a tough decision to make." "Do you have a lot of family back in Massachusetts?" "No. My aunt, uncle, and cousins all live here. My gran lives in Florida now." I know that I wouldn't have to think on it very long, but that's me. Good luck, Ashley. Okay, Jerry. It's been great working with you today. Have a nice holiday weekend. You too, Ashley. I'll see you around the station. After pulling the microphone cord through my clothes, I handed the unit to the sound tech, then went looking for Dennis. He was packing up the truck. "Hi, Dennis." "Hi, Ashley. Great show. You did good. Kay Peterson is going to be really disappointed." "Kay? Yeah, I heard she was telling everyone that you'd fall on your face. She's bitter about being taken off the show. I thought she was over that. She started speaking to me again. It's easier to hurt someone if you make it seem like you're friends with them. It's like the old saying, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Watch your back. Kay might be leaving, but her throwing arm is still strong, and she always carries a wide assortment of knives. A lot of people have felt her pointed daggers over the years. Thanks for the warning. And thanks for picking me up today. I'm going to wander around the park for a while, so I won't need a ride. I'll see you tomorrow, I guess. We're not done yet." "We're not?" "No, the station always wants some interviews in the park after the parade. You know, the follow-up stories like, how did you enjoy the parade today, and crap like that." "How much do they want?" "We usually shoot 30 minutes of tape. That could take a couple of hours." "Yeah, that's about right." "And then we're done?" "Then we're done." "Okay, I signed. Let's do it." We didn't complete the interviews until after 2 o'clock. That gave me just 2 hours before I was supposed to be at the station to prepare for the 6 o'clock broadcast. I would have gone directly to the station, but I was a bit wilted from the heat, so I got Dennis to drop me off back at the house. My cousins were out, so I took a shower, put on fresh clothes, and fixed my hair and makeup. I also took time to call my mom. I had been calling at least once each week, but I naturally hadn't told her about my becoming a girl. I told her that I'd gone to watch the parade and then spent some time in the park, and that I expected to watch the fireworks tonight. She said she was glad I was having a good time and that everything was going well at home. The plant had made good progress with the contract and her boss was pleased with her work. She hoped that it might lead to a promotion. After 20 minutes, we said our goodbyes and I promised to call her again in a week. No one had come home by the time I was ready to leave for the station, so I called a taxi and made it with 10 minutes to spare. I had no sooner sat down than Mr. Pilar's assistant was standing by my desk informing me that he wanted to see me. I wondered if Jerry had told him that I wouldn't be around after the end of the summer. I had decided not to mention the subject if he didn't. "Come in, Ashley," he said, waving to the small couch across from his desk. When I had taken my seat, he said, "You look as fresh as newly opened Rose." I went home to shower and change. I was feeling like last week's Rose. "You looked great on the reviewing stand, and you did a fantastic job. Absolutely fantastic." "I knew I was right about you." "Thank you, Mr. Pilara. I've decided that you'll be able to do a better job for us if you work during the week rather than weekends. On weekends, you mostly get human interest stories, where during the week you can handle real news, political meetings, and press conferences. But I do the weather every night at 6 and 10. I can't work all day and all night both. I'm going to talk to Rob Graham about finding a replacement person for the weather report. You can be more valuable to the station as a news reporter, and maybe eventually as a co-anchor," he added tantalizingly. "Thank you for your interest, Mr. Pilara, but I've been happy doing the weather. A trained parrot could do the weather. You've got the instincts and talent to be a top television news reporter. This is a golden opportunity that most anyone in this business would jump at." I'd tried to avoid telling him about myself, but it seemed that I couldn't avoid it any longer. "It would mean more money," he said, and when I didn't respond right away, he added, "It could mean an extra $1,000 a week. I know that the weather people don't make a lot of money." This was almost funny because I was feeling rich from my present pay. I know it's a wonderful opportunity, and I don't want to appear ungrateful. But there's something you should know. I'm younger than a lot of people around here seem to think, so I've no reason to suspect that you know either. I'm only 16. 16? You're only 16? You look 20. It's the makeup. I purposely try to make myself look older so I'll get more respect than a 16-year-old would. And I'll be returning to high school in September. He sat back in his chair and stared at me for what seemed at least a full minute. I didn't say anything either. 16, and with the maturity to conduct an interview like someone twice your age, with 10 years of experience. It's even more incredible now that I know. He stared at me again. "Okay, here's what we'll do. You'll move to weekday news reporting until school starts, and then you'll work weekends during the school year, switching to weekdays during vacations. Next summer, you'll switch to weekdays again. Of course, if a nighttime anchor spot opens, we'll move you in there on a permanent basis." My head was swimming. Under other circumstances, I would jump at a job offer like this. Anyone would. But I couldn't. I wasn't what I seemed, and I would be found out if I tried to perpetuate the deception for too long. It had gone on for too long already. And just the fact that I might be considering it on some subconscious level meant that I was in danger of losing touch with reality. I desperately racked my brain for a way out without angering Mr. Pilara, because I did want to finish out the summer. The money was too good to pass up, and I sure couldn't earn $1,600 a week doing anything else that I was qualified for. "Mr. Pilara, I don't go to school here. I don't even live in the state. I'm from Massachusetts. I'm only visiting my cousins for the summer. I took the job as weather girl because it was temporary until September when the regular weather person returns from maternity leave. I'll be leaving for home then." Mr. Pilara stared at me for a few seconds. "How about enrolling in school here and staying with your relatives?" "I couldn't do that. My mom would be all alone. You'll be going off to college in a couple of years, and she'll be all alone then, won't she?" "I suppose." He continued to stare at me as he tried to think of incentives and counter-arguments to my rationale. There must a way. I'll think on it now that I know the situation. In the meantime, I'll talk to Rob and see what we can do for the rest of the summer. That's all, Ashley. And once again, well done today. "Thank you, Mr. Pilara." I smiled to him as I left, but I was glad to be out of there. I didn't see my reporting or presentation skills as so spectacular that anyone else should be working hard to control my career path. In fact, I didn't really even look upon it as a career path. I knew that I could never use it on a resume for James Ashley. The money that I got for doing the work was the only benefit that I would receive, so it didn't make any sense to assume more responsibility. Of course, there was the consideration of the extra money that he offered. Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.